and good morning to some of you. I'm Chris Ann with the Common Ground Alliance today, and we're waiting to admit some of our guests into the virtual meeting today as we work here with New York 811's Executive Director, Roger Sampson, who is joining us today virtually live, and our friends from UTO to talk about the next frontier of underground damage prevention. This is a first. For those of you joining us today on the call, you're about to see two things that have never been seen before. Us try to run a live video during a call, and more importantly, Roger and New York 811's Board of Directors, brand new damage prevention technology known as the 811 VRX Sim Mobile. So with that, Roger, why don't you lead us off here and give us a little history on the project?
Thank you, Chris Ann. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be able to show this new technology. The VRX Sim has been an idea that I have had for many years, well over 10 years. It all started with the idea of a safety town type of concept where we would build actual infrastructure and be able to train underground excavation work, locating work in a real environment. But as I thought about those type of scenarios, it became very apparent to me that static environment would not be very intuitive. So I started to think about ways that we can look to doing training for excavators in a way that we can have control over the parameters, change the parameters, and put excavators into situations that they find themselves in each and every day. Years ago, I had met up with Alan Hattie and Annie Burns from UTO, worked with them on some of the projects with New York 811, and they were very heavily involved in virtual reality locating. And I kind of pitched them this idea of a virtual safety town. And these individuals are very forward thinkers. They took that idea and we started to cultivate the idea through discussions. At that time, the virtual reality was not up to where it needed to be to offer the realism in the scenarios. And again, it was more conversations back and forth whenever we got an opportunity to meet up with each other. Well, recently, the virtual reality technology has advanced to the point where we felt that we could start to really investigate and really put together a comprehensive virtual reality simulation. Again, Alan and Annie were behind it 150%. They had the technology, they had the expertise. I was able to make the pitch to my board of directors as a tool to enhance damage prevention for the future. And thankfully, they all pretty much accepted it and approved it and got behind it. So we were able to launch this project. So what we're going to see today on the video is a culmination of the ideas, the visions that I had and the visions that our organization had and that Alan and Annie had put into practice through this video. Unfortunately, we would have loved to have been able to reveal this at a in-person conference, but because of the state of the way things are today, we did the next best thing. We put together a video that will give you the idea of the capabilities of this technology and how we're going to continue to improve and advance this technology for the betterment of damage prevention. So without further ado, if you can, launch the video and we will take a listen.
Since the advent of damage prevention, the industry is continuously searching for new and better ways to prevent damage. New York 811 constantly looks to the future in developing new safety training practices in pursuit of achieving our goal of zero damages. When exploring the latest technology and safety, New York 811 was inspired by the aviation industry and its success in flight simulation training. Simulators have revolutionized safety in the airline industry, while also providing the FAA with vital feedback in making regulatory decisions, making air travel today one of the safest forms of transportation. We quickly realized this same invaluable technology used to train pilots to avoid accidents could also be applied in training excavators. This kind of training would help shift our entire industry from examining damages as reactive to being proactive, getting ahead of the damage. To execute this innovative program, New York 811 partnered with Udo Technologies, who are experts in virtual reality simulation. Together, we are proud to introduce the New York 811 VRXSim. The VRXSim is a mobile, completely immersive virtual reality training program. Welcome to the future of damage prevention.
Now that we've seen the outside of the VRXSim, let's go inside and see what this beast can really do. For the first time ever, New York 811 is introducing you to the next level of damage prevention. Welcome to the VRXSim. This is the virtual reality environment where we take the excavators through the entire process. Some of you may be asking is what the purpose of this is and why we did this. Well, first and foremost, we are not attempting to teach someone how to operate a backhoe. We are taking experienced operators and putting them through the simulation so that they have a better understanding and we can gain valuable data in how to work and operate safely around buried utilities. Within the VRXSim, we are taking the participants through the whole excavation process. They're going to receive a work order. That work order will describe the scope of work they're going to be doing today. Once they receive that work order, they're going to go into the new ITIC ticket management system and place a locate request. From that point, they're going to receive their APRs from the utilities and verify that their APRs are correct. They're going to visit the excavation site to verify that the APR information is accurate. From there, we will introduce them into the excavator and the spotter in the virtual environment and proceed to start the excavation.
Okay guys, the first step in this process is for you to get a work order. The work order is going to give you an idea and the scope of the work that we're going to be doing in the virtual reality world. So take a minute to look at it and we'll move on to ticket submission. Okay, so now that you guys have a minute to review your work order, we're going to move over here and submit a ticket through ITIC NXT. So here we are going to submit the locate ticket request through the ITIC NXT site, inputting all of the pertinent information for the locate request and most importantly, notifying the facility operators who will be affected by the pending excavation. So the next step, the excavator will have to revisit the ITIC NXT website and verify the APR responses, making sure that all facility operators on the notification request have positively responded. Both of these processes, the ticket submission and APR response, will factor into the overall score of the participant's simulated scenario.
What we're going to do is we're going to take our participants through the virtual reality simulator, simulating an actual excavation and the process that they'll use to actually dig around buried facilities. I'm going to give it over to Chris right now, and Chris is going to take the participants through the process of orientating them and getting them set up to do the virtual reality excavation.
Okay, so Mike, for this demonstration, you're going to play the excavator. If you could please enter the vehicle. and put your virtual reality headset on. And Robert, you're going to be the spotter. So if you could please put on your virtual reality headset and hold these two paddles. And now I'm going to size you for the virtual reality experience. We are now ready to enter the virtual reality excavation simulation.
The beauty of this immersive experience is that the virtual content is based on an actual local residential neighborhood, with a level of detail that reinforces real-world conditions and challenges on the worksite, including marked utilities, area utilities, road surfaces, sidewalks, safety markers and barriers, even down to the residents' trash cans. The instructor will begin the program by choosing all of the variables and parameters available through the dashboard according to the work order given to the participants. Each participant will have the ability to experience 360-degree views of their surroundings. We will be able to see different views from the excavator and spotter's perspective. The instructor will be able to monitor and evaluate each participant's performance, utilizing a real backhoe environment with all of the controls and functionality you would find in modern-day excavation equipment. The built-in eye tracking software will allow instructors to track participants' sight lines to ensure the visual cues of an excavation site are being followed as part of the safe excavation process, reinforcing the responsibility of the excavator to pre-survey the work area prior to excavation. There are numerous views available in each scenario. Multiple aerial drone views, as well as X-ray underground views where we can peel away the layers of material and see the facility subsurface. There are also collision zones that can be toggled on or off to show tolerance zone interference. Anything and every scenario can be developed with this program.
This is really cool. Right now I'm curling up and I'm breaking through the cement down into the soil. And then it's getting used to the hair. You're gonna curl it out. Everything is so real here. The homes, the locating, everything.
I can give the excavator hand motions. I can see my own hands. I have the option to grab a shovel and hand dig.
As the excavator and the spotter are running through their scenario, those on the outside will get to see what exactly is going on in the virtual environment. It will give them great insight and what is expected when it's their turn to go in.
Here we see the spotter and the excavator working together in the X-ray view with collision zone view engaged. We can see the visual targets in place and notice some have been acknowledged in the scenario. In the virtual experience, mistakes and damages can and will happen. The point of the exercise is to analyze why and how we can keep it from happening again in the future, particularly in real-world situations where vital utilities and the safety of the community is at stake. All of the data collected over the course of multiple participants in the different scenarios will allow us to collect and analyze that data in order to make recommendations to the industry and next practices.
Okay, team, so let's look at the score breakdown in our report here. As you can see, there are many things that you did very well, but there are also a couple things that we really need to work on as far as procedural. So we got the data, we're going to work on those, and then we'll go from there.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All of this activity and all of this data is in an effort to reduce damages. We will be taking the data and analyzing it so that we can identify areas that need improvement so that we can make recommendations for next practices rather than best practices. Just want to thank the participants for their involvement in the demonstration of the VRX Sim. The data we collect from this is going to go a long way and be invaluable in driving down damages in the New York 811 region.
The flexibility of the program allows us to customize the platform for today's parameters and can be updated for all future excavation scenarios. By making this highly specialized program mobile, the New York 811 VRX Sim is ready to bring this next level technology and safety training directly to stakeholders, no matter where they are. Our hope is this innovative excavator training would be implemented industry-wide across the nation. The future applications of this groundbreaking technology are virtually limitless.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And Roger, just want to thank you for getting this video put together for us to share with the damage prevention world. And certainly the video streams much better in individual situations than it does for almost 120 people here on Zoom. But with that, we've had some questions pop in, and hopefully you've been reading the chat to see all of the well wishes and comments that have come across.
Absolutely, and again, I apologize to everyone. The choppiness was a challenge for everybody, and I understand this. We will be providing the link to all the participants to view it in its original state. So we will provide that.
Great. Certainly, we've had some interesting questions, but one of the first ones was, it looks like you've been working on this for some time, but give us a scope and scale. How actually big is the vehicle or the RV?
Well, it is a 34-foot Winnebago. Believe it or not, because it was stripped down, we had to order it custom. So we didn't have all the niceties of a kitchen or a living room or a bedroom. We had to actually order it from the manufacturer. We got lucky with COVID. One just rolled off the assembly line, and we were able to secure it with them. But it is 34 foot long. It's about approximately 8 foot wide. It does have a slide out that enables us to put the computer systems that run the scenarios, and it gives us an opportunity to sit with the excavator and enter tickets and check their APR. So,
great. One of the questions we had is, can you do group training or only one person at a time?
The training is designed for 2 individuals, a spotter, which is so important in the excavation world, and the excavator. We space out the training to about no more than 30 minutes because you can't be in the virtual world for that long. You end up having some issues with the virtual reality. So we do plan on, when we bring it out to a site, to train multiple people, but it'll be one right after another.
Great. And obviously, the hopefully not the $1 million question, but rough estimate on costs?
Well, it's expensive. I much rather not go into what it costs. It is expensive, but I have to say a special thanks to the board for recognizing the importance of developing this and getting behind it. Also, Annie and Alan at Udo were instrumental in understanding the vision of this and how important it can be to the industry.
Excellent. We did have a question. I am interested in the section in the video regarding scoring. Can you give us a little bit more detail around what everybody scored upon?
I'll let Alan handle that. That's their expertise.
Sure. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Nice, nice job, Roger. It's amazing. Yeah. So the scoring is where I guess, rubber hits the road. So what we're doing is evaluating not how to dig, and this is one of the things that Roger and his leadership stressed to us from day one. We're not teaching people how to use a backhoe or teaching someone how to be a spotter. We're actually measuring their behavior in the whole excavation process. So one of the key things to do was for us to decide what metrics we were going to actually use to do that and to give a summary score. And so right at the end of the video there, you saw a very brief snapshot of a spider chart and some metrics alongside. And basically, I mean, I can't pull them all off the top of my head, but basically I saw someone post a question, no pilot hole. Yeah, that's required. If you don't do a pilot hole, you don't visibly see. The great thing with this technology, we can actually measure what the participants are actually looking at during the process, just not what they're doing, but actually what they're looking at and when they're looking at it. In the coincidence of the excavator himself in the spotter is critical to this whole process. The excavator is blind for the most part, while he's got this 3-foot wide boom in front of his visual in the real world. So this spotter plays a key role. So you would notice on the scoring, did the spotters expose a pilot hole? Did he visually inspect all the paint marks and the utilities associated with those paint marks? Did the excavator actually look at the assets that are important to that excavation? What else? Did he make contact? So we don't just measure, did he damage an asset? We measured how close to that asset did he get. So was contact made, but the facility wasn't actually destroyed or damaged. We can measure that. So these are the things that we'll share with you when you get a copy of the video. Take a look, and this is a maturing metric base. The beauty of doing it in a safe environment where it's safe to fail, we can actually choose these metrics depending on the scenarios that we create. So different scenarios will eventually have different metrics, but for the most part, if you can see it in that scenario and you can see it being operated, the equipment being operated in the excavation process underway, we can measure that both in time and in space and provide analytics based on what happened in that session. Does that answer the question?
It does. It does. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to jump up here into the Q&A, and I'll start off with a comment. Outstanding. This is a game changer, and I wholeheartedly support that comment. This is another question. At some point, is it possible to have a directional drilling rig as opposed to a backhoe? And the second part to that question is also, how long does the training typically take?
I believe the capabilities, we've gotten to the point where we have a proof of concept that the mechanism or the machinery could be customized to fit various different excavation styles. Obviously, we're at the point, and this is in its infancy. I think Alan had mentioned the development of this is in its infancy. This is going to be developed so much more broader. We have additional phases where we're going to be incorporating what we call 4D technology into this. We're going to be imparting, if you make contact with a gas line, we're going to be imparting the smell of gas. We're going to be including sensory cues into the environment, that if you strike a water line, there'll be some sensory cues there. If you strike an electric line, there'll be some sensory cues there as well. So the development of this with different pieces of equipment and different scenarios and different parameters is going to be continually to evolve. We don't want to just develop this and roll it out day one and this is it. We want to continually evolve this so that, because we know in the real world there are so many different scenarios and situations that excavators and spotters and locators run into, the capacity for this is limitless. So I hope I answered the question. You're on mute, Chris.
You're on mute, Chris Ann, but
I was excited to do that. That's my first time today. So we've got questions coming in here fast and furious. And just to give the lay of the land to folks, this is brand new technology and in a COVID environment. So, you know, a lot are asking, what have you learned and what are the measurements and what are the next steps? Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're getting the baseline. This is actually the sneak preview for the entire damage prevention industry today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done some testing in this. We haven't rolled it out to the excavators. In the process, we're going to, after this unveil, we're going to start to put actual excavators, operators into the scenario and start collecting that data. Again, this is in its infancy. We're excited about the progress we've made. To your point, Chris Ann, during COVID, you know, and like I said, it's going to be continually evolving.
Great, great. Well, why don't we take some questions from the floor? We've got a couple hand raised. We'll start with Bob Turgeson, who I think has actually been a participant. Bob, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me, first of all?
We can.
So it's great to see everybody virtually. National Grid, for those of you that don't know, I manage the damage prevention program in New York for National Grid. And I've actually had the pleasure to work with both Annie and Alan at UDO because they've done a similar project for us with locate assurance technology. So I'm pretty sure that I might know the answer to this question, but I'm going to pose it to you guys and to Roger. The simulation, when you're putting users through the training, through that simulation, it looks fantastic, right? But we all know that every job site, every day looks different. It can be weather conditions change, paint marks fade, paint marks are incorrect. You know, are you guys able to change the parameters from one simulation to the next, or even with the same user? Everything looks fantastic on a beautiful sunny day. But now let's throw in some complications. Here are marks that are faded. Here's a parked car sitting on top of a paint mark. You know, those are actual scenarios that the backhoe operators and construction crews run into every day. Does the simulator address that?
Absolutely. We are building this to put those variables in. Weather conditions, faded marks, mismarks, all in an effort to collect the data as the user goes through to find that data point that leads to a damage. And to be able to compile that data to paint a picture as to the root causes of damage. We know there's many different variables in the real world that can affect damage and can affect the process of excavation. And we want to be able to simulate that. We will be able to simulate that. So changing parameters is part of the entire process.
Great. Thanks, Bob, for the question. We also have another question raised. Aaron Resendez, go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, thank you. Aaron Resendez, Research and Development, PG&E. Roger, nice job. So if I understand it right, I'm assuming you're using like an Oculus system for your VR or something equivalent. But you can do the eye tracking and then you can build into that simulated environment particular cues. And so the system is able to watch the eye and see if the user, be it the spotter or in this case the backhoe operator, are keying in on some of those cues, and that then feeds into the scoring mechanism. Is that my understanding?
Yes, absolutely. I would have to put it over to Annie and Alan as far as what.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. Yeah, not the Oculus thing so much, but the process there. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you saw in the video, there was some blue cubes that actually turned to green. That's part of the eye tracking software that the excavator and the spotter have to visually inspect the area prior to commencing excavation, which is one of the requirements for safe excavating. So we're utilizing that technology within the simulation right now.
So so you have users on the outside who are kind of in line, ready to get in there, right, to be next. Is the simulator set up so that it kind of changes a little bit between the individual users? So the last person to go in doesn't actually have, the answer key, if you may, to what had already transpired.
Absolutely, and that was the driving force behind doing it in the virtual world. If we were to build a safety town for excavation, it's a static environment. None of the parameters really change underground because of the cost associated with being able to change those parameters. There is a limit. In the virtual world, the parameter change is virtually limitless. I don't want to repeat myself, but that's the beauty of it. Is that we can see those patterns and make adjustments. We can know that they missed a visual cue. We can know that they failed to check a mark, identify a mark, potholing. All of those different scenarios will figure into the data collection as well as the overall score.
Last question, and then I'll go on mute for others to ask questions about. Are you going to be doing a roadshow? And if so, will you be at the CGA conference, I believe, Phoenix in 2022? I think it's in Arizona.
I'll jump in on that, Aaron. That is actually not the CGA conference. The CGA conference will be this October in Orlando, Florida, from October 12th through the 14th. And then we will be back in sunny Anaheim, California for the CGA conference and expo in April. So I think, Roger, we're slated to have you there and roll into Orlando come October.
Yeah, we were slated to be in Orlando prior to the pandemic.
Today.
Yes, exactly, today. And, we plan on rolling this out to the industry. Yes, we do plan on road shows, and we hope that other states and other organizations look at this technology and implement it for the betterment of damage prevention. That's really the motivation behind creating this. So yeah, we do plan on allowing the industry to utilize it and in a sense, lack of a better term, play with it.
Awesome. Aaron, any additional questions?
No, I think I'm good. There's a lot of questions in the Q&A.
Thank you, and certainly we can share Roger and Alan and Annie's contact information after today's session. It's great to see all the questions and chatter from a neighbor down south, Annette Bowman with Alabama 811. Go ahead and unmute.
There we go. Did I have a question? Did I raise my hand? Oops, yeah. Sorry. That was, I don't have a question.
You were just waving at Roger.
Apparently, Roger's my friend, so I like him in the green shirt in the background.
Thanks, Annette. Roger, question for you. Are you planning to include New York 811 laws such as no mechanized equipment, tolerance zone, potholes, handing, and so on into the scoring?
Absolutely. Those considerations are absolutely built into the scenarios based on the New York State law surrounding digging safely. So yes, those are figured into the scenarios.
Great. we got several questions around reserving it. How do I get a reservation? How's that process looking? And it's fun to ask that in a COVID pandemic environment. So I'm riveted for this answer.
Okay, so I think this is great that there is so much interest, and it really makes me very happy. We have not figured out the logistics of uh, a way to reserve it, and I'm actually going to look towards One Core Concepts to kind of give me some advice on how they do that and manage that aspect of it, because they have the 811 bike and the car and the trike, and they do that kind of thing all the time. So right now, logistically, we don't have a plan at this point. We will be putting together a plan and what those requirements are going to be.
Great. I think we had another hand raised from Lee. Or maybe the hand came down. Maybe another wave at Roger. Another question coming in. Do you incorporate emergency response procedures in the training? If a contractor hits a gas line, do they have to go through any emergency protocols, calling 911 and the local gas company as part of the training?
At this point, we have not built that in. It's definitely something that we can consider to do for future scenarios. I think that's a good exercise. A lot of times, in the heat of the moment, they forget those protocols. So I think it's actually a good idea to take a look and incorporate that into the scenarios.
Thanks, Roger. Another question in, and I think this is a good one to reiterate. Is the user scored on the online ticket entry process or the 811 call process? So portion or all?
I'm sorry, repeat that question again.
Is the user scored on the online ticket entry process or the 811 call process?
It's scored based on the ticket entry within our region, the requirements needed, and also the APR response and acknowledgement. So those two features are figured into the overall score. The quality of the request, description of the location of the excavation, and also the APR responses are all figured into the overall score in the scenario.
Great. And as we're rounding third and heading home here, I have a few more questions. But Roger, you've just become the most popular man in one call. You've got invitations to all kind of glamour spots: Missouri, Alabama, Louisiana. It's great to see such great industry support, and I'm sure you're going to be willing to update us and provide some lessons learned and share your wisdom with damage prevention as a whole.
Absolutely, and again, to reiterate that when we start collecting data, we're going to be using this data not just locally or regionally. This is going to be shared with the industry. Next Practices Committee is the perfect platform for being able to share this data and findings and studies that we do. And I think that's going to be the real strength of this type of technology and program.
Awesome. And Roger, this might be a question for Alan and Annie as well. Is there a plan to develop similar damage prevention VR training for the locating stakeholder group? Similar to the training offered by Pixo VR?
Yeah, Annie, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, we already have that, Chris Ann. It's a great question. I don't know if you've seen our locate simulator that we've had at CGA for the last 3 or 4 years. And actually what we're going to do is combine the two. The locate simulator, which determines the quality of the best practice used in the field, and combine that with Roger's construction vision so that we can see what the guys are marking in the field and how that relates to the guys who are excavating on top of those markings. So the two are going to combine together. And we'd be happy to do one of these seminars on the locate assurance simulator as well. So
I have to tell you, it's by far one of our most well-attended lunch and learns, and I know we're approaching that final minute here, but there's a couple really good questions that I'm interested in learning about too. So I'm gonna keep going here and get as much info out there as we can.
Great.
What will the user experience when they hit a mismarked line?
Initially, we're going to fire them on the spot. No, I'm just kidding. I think Alan said it earlier. It's a safe environment to fail, and when they do fail, that's data points. That's root cause analysis, and we will obviously be able to give them a scoring synopsis at the end of it, and kind of tell them that where they did really good, where they improved. I think the data is going to be very interesting to bear out whether damages are majorly caused by procedural, behavioral, process. I think it's going to be very interesting what the data bears out. But as far as what's going to happen to them, we don't anticipate this to be used as a hammer. It's really used to enhance training, enhance awareness, and data collection. And Annie, looks like you want to try.
Yeah. So just a little anecdotal to answer your question in a little different way, Chris-Anne. When we were first conceiving of this, Roger was thinking of this much like the game Operation when you were a kid. So if they hit a water pipe, they were going to get squirted with a huge hose full of water in there. If they hit a gas pipe, there was going to be a massive explosion in the Winnebago. And we had to reel him in a little, that this wasn't quite the Disney ride yet. But, however, there are force feedback responses and other things that will happen within the simulator. For example, what you can't see here is that whole seat vibrates according to what type of ground you hit. There are big reactions within the simulator if you hit electric or if you hit water. And in the further development of this, as Roger touched on, there are going to be 4D, some kind of 4D elements where you will maybe get a smell, or maybe, we will incorporate some other fun things that will make them jump out of their boots and not want it to happen in the real world. So if I could just wrap up that, and earlier on, somebody asked about the metrics and what are they being scored on. Don't forget, this is very specifically customized and tailored to New York 811 right now, but it's obviously customizable for every different customer and doesn't have to be in a Winnebago, right? If you've got a huge training facility, it can be part of your facility, and we can train multiples, of course, but we were confined by the size of the Winnebago, and obvious safety concerns. So it's a two-man show for now, at least. So I hope that answers your question.
And Annie, it's interesting you say confined by a 37-foot Winnebago. For most people, that's a dream training vehicle. So thanks for expounding upon that a little bit. Another question we have is, where can we request a proposal so we can consider having it built for our state? And we can certainly get you in touch with Annie and Alan, who hopefully we've convinced today to come on board here at CGA. And we've also got another question. Roger, will you get this in front of the state regulatory agency? The NYPSC would be very interested in this.
It's funny. I got off a call yesterday, and we do have plans to introduce them to this. They're very excited about it when we spoke with them about developing this. So yes, we are getting in front of the regulators to present this much in the same style we're presenting it right now.
Awesome. Another question we had is that given that 811 laws vary across the country, are there plans to create state-by-state simulation? And I think it's the opportunities are endless, right, Annie?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we just said. To reiterate, it's customizable according to what the individual state needs and what their requirements are. I mean, those are the more simple things, to tweak the metrics and to tweak the scoring. So yeah.
Okay, well then let's get you a more complex one. We also have some of our friends on today's call from Brazil. We did a really immersive presentation on underground damage prevention with Comcast to a couple hundred folks last week. How's your language translation to Portuguese? Have you considered the Spanish language population or offering that in any way? We'll start there for probably a more applicable use to where we are in the States.
We've done a translation for our safe excavation training program virtually. So I could see the application applying here. Once we get somewhat perfected in the process right now, I could see us looking to do that to make that inclusive as part of the opportunity to use this technology and equipment.
Great. So let's talk about just a few more questions here. At the end of the training day, is the data automatically uploaded to a cloud, exported into a spreadsheet? How does that process look on the back end?
Alan, can you take that question?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Good question. So right now it's exported to a Excel file on the trainer's laptop inside the Winnebago. But the cloud integration with the UTO platform, just like the locate simulator and training and the locate assurance in the real world, that's all going to be crunched up into the UTO cloud and can be shared. And I think that's the big thing with the 811 process remains a human-driven process. Technology is really there to support it, and everything we can do to measure and share with managers, directors, supervisors, and more importantly, the guys who are on the ground in the field to incentivize and just make sure they're motivated and understand the best practice. And if they don't, we can retrain for that. So that will come. Right now, we've been focusing on the actual physics and the technology and the platforms that are involved. There's a lot going on. You probably saw the very, very end tip of the iceberg in Roger's excellent video. There are multiple layers. We presently have 9 scenarios inside the simulator. My guess there could be 99 or 999 scenarios. And what happened with the locate simulator is, as it matured, we started to give the trainer the ability to create those scenarios on the fly. The product is somewhat immature with that regards right now because we've been just targeting getting the whole system operational and functional. But that will come over the next 6 months, and eventually you'll be able to put utilities where you want them, at what depth, at what offset. You'll be able to have the dog coming out of the house chasing the locator or parking the car on top of the paint marks, all that. But that's for phase. We're probably on phase 4 requirements already, so maybe that's for phase 4 or 5. But the cloud integration is definitely a phase 2 project.
Great, thank you for answering that. And as we wrap up here, if there's any excavators on the line that would like their mic open to kind of provide some feedback, we'd welcome that as well. If you don't have a question, but just some feedback in general. Obviously, we're seeing the output and we're not seeing the hours and hours of input to get to where you are. And, hats off for pursuing something that is just visionary and revolutionary and going to do so much to further damage prevention. I look at one other question I have here, and it says, is the long-term goal to provide excavators with a certificate of the training and in regards to the scoring?
I definitely think that there is going to come a point where we're going to want to put the excavator through and then certify that they've completed a process. I don't know about calling it a certification, but at least acknowledging that they've been through enhanced training using this technology and to the benefit of damage prevention.
Yeah. Great. Sarah D, I don't believe I see any other hands raised. And, we did have over 115 participants and 96 of y'all are still on the line. So that's awesome that you were to spend some time with us. And I do want to thank Roger and Annie and Alan for joining us today and unveiling this new project with us. It's exciting to see, and we can't wait to see it in action. And I know a lot of our members are going to have some additional questions. So to those on the line, always feel free to email Erica, Sarah, Lisa, myself, and we'll get you in touch with the right folks here. But just awesome. And we can't wait for a round 2 update. And Roger, I think everybody will be looking forward to some New York pizza during that lunch and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to showcasing this at the conferences and, letting the industry really see the capabilities of this technology and how it's being used and how we can utilize it for damage prevention.
I think we have great. I think we have one more hand raised for a question. Sandy Holmes. There's that hand.
Sorry, I'm multitasking and I raise. All you have to do is press the space bar and your hand gets raised. So that's what happened. Sorry.
Oh, okay, great. I was we'll sign off then with Sandy's comment from Arizona there. But again, on behalf of CGA and the folks that participated, very, very exciting. And we'll be sure to communicate out where you can access the video to share with your team and to get additional answers. So congratulations, Roger, and the New York 811 Board of Directors, our bronze member, on a job well done. Go get some rest.
Thank you very much, all. I really appreciate you being on the call, allowing us to share this with you, and we look for the future, and it's going to even get better. So, thank you.
Awesome. Everybody, stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.